Okay, so let's create a route for our user in the Angular app. So this is my Angular app, which is basically an Angular Deno app. And right now it has only one route, which is home. Let's create another route called users. So I right click on here, I say generate component. Okay, so my component name will be users. Press enter, okay, and confirm. And now our component has been added. The users component has been added. Okay, so let's see what it has actually. It says HTML. Okay, so let's go to the routing module and add another route for this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to duplicate this and I'm saying this users. Okay, and then this should be a users, and let's import this one here. And the breadcrumb name we can give to is users. Okay, let's add this one. Oh, it's already added in the module.ts file, so no need to add. Okay, so now in the app.component.html it should be users. Okay, and then if I go to the browser, I just refresh it and then I give now the users works. So it means our routing is working. So let's fetch the users from API. So the first step, what I'm gonna do is I go to the users.component, and what I'm gonna do is we need to have one service which will fetch the data from the API. So generate a service which will be a user.service basically. Enter, confirm, and it's generated. So this is our user service, and in this user service what we're gonna do is the first thing we're gonna do is basically let's have a HTTP client here, okay, which will be a HTTP client, right? And then we can have API URL, which is basically API/v1, okay, and then in the constructor we call this HTTP client basically, and then in the constructor we have to say this dot HTTP client is equal to HTTP. So basically what we can have it here is, because this is our CRUD API, so CRUD is create user, update user, delete user. Okay, so the first thing is let's declare an object, basically users action. Okay, and in this user action our first property will be get users, basically, which will be a method, okay, and it will be a observable, and then this observable is type of any right now, okay, and then we say return this dot HTTP client to get this dot API URL plus users. Okay, so this is our first request. Okay, so let's call this URL address a full address, basically a local host, and then the port. Since our Angular app is also running on 4200 port, so we can change this port to 5000, and our API port to 5000. Okay, so now what we can do is go to the component.ts, and here we in the constructor we call the service, which is private user service, and it's a user service basically. And then in the constructor we'll first we have a variable observable, basically users, okay, which will be a observable type any, and the data is any array basically. Okay, this dot user is equal to, it's not basically a user, it should be a users. So it should be a users. So users, this dot user service dot user action dot get users. Okay, this dot users dot subscribe, and here we say result console.log users. Oops, not the user, it's a result. Okay, so let's go to the application, and then here we say press F12, and in the console if we so other thing is that we should have our Deno is running. So if we want to hit the API, so what we have to do is that we are here in our Deno app. So I just changed this port to 5000 because our Angular app is running on 4200. So let's run this Deno run hello net server.ts, and it's running. And I come here, I just go to localhost 5000, and so our Deno is returning the information from the API, the payload, basically the user payload. Now let's try to hit this one from our Angular app. Let's try to hit this one. So it says that you have a course issue. Localhost 5000 API v1 users from your region HTTP. So this is a CrossOrigin policy. We cannot access the API from one domain to another domain. So right now these both are two different applications. So that's why we have this course issue, the CrossOrigin policy issue here. So to resolve this, what we have to do is we just go to our Angular app, okay, and then we can right click here, and then we create another file called proxy.json here. So here we have a proxy.json, right? And there we say we have this API. If we have a call from this API, so our target will be this one, okay? And now we go to the service.ts, and then we don't need this one, right? So it's saved, and let's check the app here. So if you see, it's already showing that the call we get from API v1 users is using a proxy HTTP localhost 5000. So we get the data from here. If you see in the payload, we are hitting the API, our Deno API. Okay, so let's go to our user component. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to create another file which will be our interface. So let's create user.model.ts. Okay, and it will be our export interface users. Okay, let me copy this from our Deno folder. So I just copied it from our Deno app. First name, last name, DOB, and qualifications, and then let's come to our user component.ts. Okay, and there we can say users array of users. Okay, and then instead of consoling, what we gonna do is we say this dot users equal to response. So now we have users in this variable. Now let's go to the HTML and try to use this users in the table format. So let's say I have a div class p4 is basically a bootstrap class padding from all sides. So and then we can have a table class table. Okay, and then inside that we can have tr, and then we have a th, and we can have basically 6 th table headers basically, and then the first one will be id, and the second one will be first name, and then last name, and then date of birth, and then qualification, and the other one will be action. Okay, and this one will be under our t head, and we can just move this to our header. Oops, sorry. Actually, I was using the window shortcut, but in the Mac is different. Okay, and now we can have a class of this table header is class t head. Basically, this one is Bootstrap CSS classes. You can go and check it there on the website of Bootstrap. And then here we can say tbody, and inside tbody we have a tr, and in this tr we say ng4 let user of users. Okay, and then we can have a td how much 1 2 3 4 5 6 TDs. So we'll this do a magic, and here we say user.id basically, and here we say user.firstname. Okay, and here I have this one as well, the short snap I created earlier. I had a tutorial for this. You can go in my channel and check it for the VS Code Pro tips. So you'll see the custom synapse which I have created in that tutorial. So it is pretty easy to learn actually. So user dot last name CB. So it's user.dob and then CB and then user.qualification. Okay, and the action right now I will keep it blank because here I'll add two buttons, one for update users and the other one will be delete users. So I have added this table here. Now let's go to the UI and check it. So it's right now pretty much okay as of now. You see, it's loading the data from the users API, which is our API from the Deno. Okay, so now it's time to add the button to add the records in this user array. First, we can have single users basically. Here we can just copy paste this one and we can have a get user. Okay, in this get user, what I'm gonna have is that I pass the string, the ID of that user, and then I'll get the users as per the ID basically. So here I just add a slash and then plus ID. Okay, we'll do this one later, but let's add another one here called add user basically, which will be our post. Okay, and then we don't have to take any ID here, and it will be a users. Basically it should be users, it should take the user. Okay, and then it should be a API user, and then we should pass this as a user. Okay, so we just added a method to add the user, and now let's go to the component here. Okay, and in the component we can add a method which is add user. Okay, and it will be taking as user. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is it is just say user service dot user action dot add user, and here we're gonna pass user, and then we have to subscribe, and then we say response, and in the response we say if we have a response and basically we have to check if the response is there, and it has a response.data, right? Then what we have to do is we have to take this dot underscore users array, and we have to push object basically res.data, and then this dot users. Okay, so this is the method to add users. Okay, so our idea is that we'll have one button in the UI. We'll have a button on the top of this table. Okay, after clicking that button, we'll show a form, form fields basically containing first name, last name, date of birth, and qualifications. By clicking that button, I will show that form, and once you put the information in the form, first name, last name, and the date of birth and the qualification, you press the submit button, and then it should add the record in the table. So the button will be showing here. Okay, I'll just let you know how to do that. So let's go to the HTML. Okay, and in the HTML, let's say I create a div with the class div.float, right? Okay, and add a padding bottom, and then call md12. Okay, and then using a button, I'm using a prime ng button basically, and if you go to the prime ng, you come here for button, you just say button, and you have these buttons, basically a very good buttons. Okay, I'm using this button module in my Angular app. So if I come here, I can show you right now. In the app.module, I have this button module here. Okay, so let's go to the HTML, and I'm using p button. Okay, and then in this p button, I will say my label will be add user. Okay, and then I have an icon class for this pi plus. I'll show you in a moment how to use this pi icon classes prime ng. So in this I have to add onClick method basically, which will be a method and record basically, and put this one as a true. I'm going to add this method in the component for a moment. So I have this added here, and then in the wait, let me hide this one. Style class UI button info. Okay, and then it's just like this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this method in the user component. So it's add record. It's basically event, and then what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna say that a form div here, which is show form div variable. Okay, and this will be a boolean. and it initializes false. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say here is that once the user clicks this button, the show form div is basically a event of the button. Okay, so come here, and then I'm going to create another div. Okay, and in this div I will say ng if show form div. Okay, and this is my form div. Okay, and then I come to here and I just press this and it comes. So this is the idea. So when I press add user, I'll show a form here, and then that forms has first name, last name, date of birth, qualification fields, and beside that there will be a submit button. Once I click the submit, I'll call the API, and once the user gets added in the API, then our table should be updated. So let's go to our HTML. Okay, remove this one. So now we have to create a form here. So to create a form, what we have to do is we have to just say form. It will be our form group basically. Okay, and it will be record form. Our form group name will be a record form. And this is highlighting because I haven't initialized the form yet. So, but let's complete the HTML first, and then we'll initialize our form in the component. So here we say div class row, basically. Okay, and here I see input type text class form control. Basically, these all are the bootstrap classes, and form control name equals to first name. Oops. And the placeholder will be first name. Right, this should be under a div call, class call, and this should go under the call. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this 1 2 3 4. So this should be a last name, this should be a DOB, and this should be a qualification. Oops, a typo. Okay, and this one should be our submit button. So remove this. We can have another button here. Just copy this button over from the top, copy and paste. Okay, so, and then this button should have a label called submit. Okay, and I don't want any icon on this submit button basically. And this has a method called submit. Okay, which will take our record form value, sorry, and then do the action. So there are two things. We have to first initialize the form, and then we have to add the submit method in our component.ts file. So let's go to our component.ts file. Okay, and let's come to here. Let's have a method called build form controls. Okay, and in this, first we have to create a variable called code form, basically, which will be a type of form group. Okay, and we have to add a form builder in the constructor. Form builder. Okay, and go to the build controller. Okay, and here we say this dot record form equal to this dot form builder dot group, and pass the object inside, and our first control name is first name, which will be a new form control basically, and it initializes as empty right now. And then we have a last name controller, which is a new form control, and it initializes as empty right now. And then we have a DOB, and then is new form control, and the last one is basically qualification, new form control. And done. And now ng on init, we have to initialize this build form controls. Okay, so we have initialized our form here. Okay, and if we go to the, it says something. What's wrong here? It is looking for a submit method. So we side by side we have to create a submit method also. So this submit method, we have to do it here actually. So what we will do is that in the submit method, we'll take a users, which is a users. Okay, we have to say something here. Wait. Okay, so since we have declared the submit method, so the error has gone. So we click here. We just put this one, and then we'll submit. And then based on the submit, we'll call the add user API, and then it will perform the action. So since we have add users here, so in the submit we just say add users. No, add user. Okay, and then we pass the user here. Save it. If we can come here and see, we just put the, let's say, any random name here. We say that anything like Mark, Russell. I noticed something not correct. The placeholders is not correct. Let's correct the placeholder first. So in the user area, because we just copy paste. So the placeholder is first name, and then this should be a last name. This should be date of birth, and this one should be a qualification. Okay, and come back here, add user, first name, last name, date of birth, and qualification. So first name, let's say Mark. Second name, Russell. Any random name and the date of birth 1/1/1978. Qualification technical, anything, and then we do a submit, and hooray, we added the record here. And if you see our API, it says created, and it returns a message added successfully, and then the data which added is this one. And it also created a random ID, which is basically using a UUID package. Fantastic. So now let's try to do other APIs as well. So after add, okay, we can do a update user. Basically, let's copy paste this one. Basically, it will be easy. Okay, just change the name, update user. Okay, and then to update the user, we need a ID of that user. Okay, which will be a string. And then we need a users. Okay, and then in the HTTP client, we say to this put, and then users, and then we'll have basically a slash, and then we'll have an ID, and then user basically. Okay, and now go to the user.component, and here we'll say update users, update user basically, not users. And then in update user, what we'll say is we pass here ID string. Okay, and then user is basically a users. And then what we're gonna do is that call this user service dot user action dot update user, and in this update user we're gonna pass this dot user ID and then user. Okay, and then we can subscribe response. Oh, wait, I know why is this one, but let's take it as ID here, not, it's like user.id. Okay, so in the subscription, what we say is that we say if response is defined, then we say response dot status is true. Then what we're gonna do is we say this dot underscore users equal to response dot data. Okay, and then okay, fine. Okay, as this point is fine. So let's try to add another button in the UI to update the user basically. So I come here down, and then I just press enter, and then I just copy this button. Okay, I just copy this button here and paste it here. Okay, and I say this one to edit, and then change this icon to pencil basically, and here I say update user, which will take the user. Oops. Okay, and the style class will be the same. We just add one more thing, margin right. I need a margin from the right. So this is our first button, which is edit. Okay, and we just copy this button down there and name it delete. Okay, and then in the pencil we change this class to times, which is a cross, and then we have a delete user method. I mean, we have to declare, we didn't declare yet. Delete user, and then we don't need this class here, so let's create this delete method in the component. So it's update, come here and paste. So we'll add a info there in a bit of time. Okay, so what we're gonna use, we wanna try this one. Okay, so let's go to the HTML. What it says that delete expect icon but got one. Okay, so it need two arguments basically. So if come here, I put user.id. Okay, and what else? Delete user. Delete user doesn't have anything yet. So okay, so let's say I want to edit, but how? On this action, I triggered on this section basically add record. Where's that? So here I have our add record. If I go inside, I just have this one using show from div. So what I have to do is I have to change a little bit. The idea is that basically if I click edit, it also show the form with this field value. Whatever I'm selecting here, it should fill that information in the pre-filled form. And if it is click from the edit, the submit should send the update request. And if it is clicked from the add user, this submit should send the post request. So let's do some logic here. So I come here to my component. Okay, and what I'm going to do is here I'll create a variable on the top which will be a record, and its type is string. Okay, and it will be initialized as empty right now. Okay, let's put this semicolon. I forgot to put the semicolons basically. So what it's gonna do here, so if I press this add submit, this string should change to add. Okay, and then here in the submit button I will say let's remove this first. Okay, so in this submit button, what I'll check this dot record is equal to add. Okay, then I will add user. I will throw the add user request basically. Okay, and if it is else, then I will throw add update update user, and then this user should use a user ID and then user. So what it's gonna do here is that there is a change a little bit here, so I'm gonna change this one to update user underscore update user, and this one is also update user. And in the update user, what I'm gonna do is I'm take this as a as a param here, and what I'm gonna do is here I say first this dot show from div equal to true. Okay, and then I say this dot record record form dot get first name, and then I say then I say set value basically is user dot first name. Okay, and then I just copy this and change a little bit. I say last name, I say this to DOB, and this one should be qualification. Oops, I'm doing a lot of typos. So, and this one also qualification. This one is also a DB. This one is also last name. Okay, and the last thing what I'm gonna do is here that I'm saying that this dot user ID I didn't create it yet, but I'll create one user dot ID. Okay, and I go on the top I create user ID, basically a string is initialized as empty. Okay, and then okay, so now what will happen? And in the add, basically I have to do one more thing is, okay, no, it's okay. I think I should work now. If I go here, no, it says something. It says that on click update. Okay. So basically I have to change this in the HTML. I have to change this method to update user, and it should have only a user. Okay, and this one also has this dot user ID. Okay, and what else? Pretty much fine. let's see. Oh no, it still complains. It's saying that expected 2 argument but got 1. So maybe in the HTML we have to use this one. That's why it was complaining, and this one is fine. This one is fine. Actually, it should be like this. The thing is that after clicking with this method here, we get the user, we get this user, and we get this user, and then we take the form value, form control value, and set the value with this, which is we are getting from the HTML. Okay, so let's see. So if, for example, if I click on this, I get the value, right? And if I change something, let's say a John instead of John, and I press submit. Okay, so record is updated right now. See, and the response we get back is true, and user is updated successfully. That's fantastic. Okay, and the one thing I want to do is that once I submit, I want to clear this form. Okay, let's do it. So here in the update user, okay, when this one is called, what we have to do is we have to add a method here called this record form dot reset. Okay, and just copy this line and put it on the add user method as here as well. So it's pretty much fine. So let's test this one. So if I see here, I press one more time here. Okay, I want to add another user here. So let's say any random name, Michael Abraham 111978, qualification, oops, any, submit, and this one is added, and the form is also cleared. Okay, and that's it for the edit, and now we have to create a call for the delete. So that's very simple one. So go to the service, user service, and add another one just below this. Okay, here I see delete user, and just delete this one. And to delete the user, I just need a string, oh sorry, not string, and the ID type string, and in the call I just need a ID. Okay, pretty much fine. And then go to the user component, and then add a method here. And so delete user is already here, so I say ID string. Okay, and then I say, so this dot user service dot user action dot delete user, basically. And then here I see user dot id. What I can do is I just pass the object itself instead of only id. I just pass the full object basically. So, and then I say subscribe, and the result is basically the results, I say if result is defined and result dot success is true, then we'll have this dot underscore users equal to response dot users. Okay, and that's it. Let's try it, but let's check in the HTML. Delete user. Oh, we have to pass this user here. Okay, so it's saved, it's refreshed. Let's delete the last one. Oh, that's fine, it's deleted very quickly. So users deleted successfully. So if you see that in the every success of any API call, we get these messages, but we are not displaying in the UI right now. Let's do it right now. So for that, there is a very good module in the PrimeNG called Toast. Okay, so it has a very good Toast messages. So if I click on success, it's give me a success. If I click on info, it gives me info. Okay, so let's try to do that. And what I have to do is I have to include a Toast module in my app.module to use that. Okay, and if you see here, there are a lot of settings which you can configure. They have a severity, summary, detail, ID, and the type, and then the default value. It depends on you how you want to use it. Okay, and then in the HTML template, you have to just call this. And in your app.component.ts or any component.ts, you have to call this message service, and in the app.module.ts file as well. So I have already included this thing. First, let's check app.module, and in that app.module, I have a message service. Okay, from the PrimeMG API. And then I have this Toast module added here from the PrimeNG/Toast. Okay, so let's go to our user.component.ts. Let's go to our first call here. So after subscribing the data, okay, adding the data, before resetting, I want to use this one, the Toast actually. So what I have to do is I first have to include this message service, which we just saw on the PrimeNG website here. In the constructor, we have to call this message service. Okay, and in message service, okay, and then what we have to do is that we say in the add here, basically what we have to do is we say message service dot add, and then we pass this object which takes the parameter, no, not the parameter, which takes the property called severity basically. It should be a type success. Okay, and then the summary is a message. You can say whatever you want, and then detail, and in this detail I'll say response.message. And one more thing we want to do is that we want to capture the error as well. Okay, so if the API fails, we want to show the error as well. So error, and then in this error we'll say, okay, let's just copy this line from the top and then paste it here and put this one as error severity, and the message is basically error, not 3 hours. Okay, and the same thing, and just copy this line and come to the update one, paste it here, and then the error here, paste it here, and just say copy, oops, sorry, we just copy, paste, and then copy this one as well, paste it here. Okay, and then in the delete as well, so in the delete, copy this message here. Okay, and then just copy this error here. So we're gonna almost done. Okay, now yeah, the one more thing is that we have to, in HTML, what we have to do is we have to add this ptoast from the PrimeNG, otherwise it won't work. So come here, add the toast here on the top. Okay, is saved. And application saying that can't resolve PrimeNG API public API in app users. So users.component.ts file. So users.component.ts file. Here, what it says. No, it's basically is API, not the public API. So it's fine now. So if we delete this one, we say beautiful message, users deleted successfully, and we just edit this one, just change the spellings and change the date of birth and submit, and this information has updated, you see, and the beautiful message is also coming, right? And that's it. We're gonna almost done. We are successfully using the Deno REST API with the Angular, and you see how smooth it is. Actually, it is doing a lot of things in just a quick and easy way. So I'm gonna wrap this tutorial now. What I want to do is that I just want to show you the recap, basically what is going here in the users component.html, the component.ts. So first of all, we have this fetch users. Okay, we are fetching all the user information right in this table, and after that we have this add users method, and then we have update users method, and then we have a delete users method. Okay, and we have a little logic for this submit button. We say that this dot record is equal to is add. if the value is add, basically when we press this add record button from here, we set the record to add. So it checks, this submit button checks if the record is equal to add, it will trigger the add users method. Otherwise it will be update users. Okay, so that's fine. And if you like this video, just let me know by commenting below, and please do not forget to share, subscribe and like. Thank you very much and have a good day. We'll meet you in the next video. Bye bye.